Hi, welcome to the Eclectic Bloom. My name is Sierra. I'm a watercolor artist. Today I'm going to show you a little wet on wet technique, and we're going to paint some sweet summer treats. Here's a list of the supplies that you'll need. I used a round 6 and a round 2 watercolor brush. I used the colors black, green, magenta, and yellow, but you can use whatever colors you want. You will need a cup of water, some watercolor paper. I used 140-pound cold press paper. You'll need a paper towel, a pencil, and an eraser. And most importantly, you want your good attitude, because this wet on wet technique is really fun and it's loose and freeing, and so this is the best time to just let go and paint. Alright, so we're going to start with drawing our popsicle and our watermelon. I chose a pretty simple shape for my popsicle, but you can choose whatever shape you want. The same technique will work with whatever you choose. But I just kind of chose that bell-shaped popsicle. You put a line at the bottom to show a little bit more three-dimensional, and put your popsicle stick a little bit up into the popsicle. Alright, moving on to our watermelon here. Watermelon's just kind of a triangle shape. It's a little slice. So a curved top, two sides with a little curved tip at the bottom. I'm just kind of drawing until I feel like I have the shape that I want. Okay, after I have my shapes, I am going to lightly erase my pencil line so that it doesn't show up through my paint. This watercolor is transparent, so those dark lines will probably show up. So we're going to wet our popsicle, just water. You're going to color in the whole thing with water and avoid the popsicle stick for now. Just make sure you have a good wet layer. You don't want puddles on your paper, but make sure you have a good glisten going. Once you have that ready, we're going to drop in some colors. So I start off with the magenta, and you're just gonna, when you put it in there, you're going to put the colors just kind of here and there. Make sure you're leaving some spaces for the other colors. I'm going to mix a pretty coral color with my magenta and my yellow. Kind of fill in the spaces a little bit. And then we'll add in some yellow. So I'm trying not to cover up a lot of what I already put in, just kind of filling in the space. I'm using a darker value, a darker magenta, plugging that in there. While I'm doing this, I'm kind of shaping my popsicle again, making sure I'm not losing the shape. And just kind of do this as you feel like you need to. Just felt like mine needed a little bit darker in there, so I'm adding that in a little bit. And then a little darker on the bottom again. Once you're satisfied with that, you can move on to the rind of your watermelon. So we're going to let the popsicle dry before we do anything else. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to do a strip of water on the top where the rind will go. And then I'm going to be using my green and using the tip of my brush and just doing an outline straight on the top. And then the water will spread the green around, and while that's wet, I can put in some yellows, some more green, just kind of make it how I want it to be, because it didn't spread as much as I wanted, so I'm just going to kind of add a little bit more in, fill in that water space. Alright, I'm happy with that, so I'm going to move on to the bottom of my watermelon. We're going to fill it with water again, but we're going to leave a thin white space between the rind and the watermelon, because there's that thin white space. So when you get up to the top, just be a little bit more messy with it. It's not a perfect straight line. And then you're going to drop in your magenta. And look at that color spread. It's my absolute favorite part. So that did a good job of spreading, and so we're going to still leave a little bit of those white spaces in there, and I'm just kind of filling in here and there as I feel like the color didn't spread as much, but it did a perfect job. All the while shaping your watermelon. Alright, I'm going to make sure my popsicle is fully dry. I'm going to take a second to dry it real quick. And then we're going to put in a brown layer on the popsicle. I used green and the magenta and a little bit of yellow to make a brown color. And while it's wet, I'm going to put in a little bit of a stronger color at the base where it meets the popsicle. And see, it's going to kind of spread, but it shows like a little bit of a shadow underneath. Alright, that, and then we're going to put a little shadow underneath our popsicle. So where you drew that line before, if you lost your line, you can't really visualize it. Just kind of put one in there right above the popsicle stick. So you're going to do a dark color. I used the magenta, and then I used a damp brush, not a wet brush, but a damp brush, and I blended the color out. Then we're going to put a little bit of dark around the popsicle stick and on the bottom, the very bottom. And then we're going to use the wet brush and blend it out as well. Then I'm going to use that darker magenta to kind of shape my popsicle a little bit more. So I'm just going to go around. You don't want to really outline it, but you just want to put in where you feel like it's not shaped as much, or maybe it needs a little bit of a shadow. So same thing, just a little line of the darker and blending it out into the middle. You don't want to use a super wet brush because it'll make blooms in what you've already painted. So just kind of subtly do it. It's the hardest part about watercolor is figuring out the water ratio. How much water? Do I need a lot of water here, or do I need a little water there? See, just that little bit of darker on the edge kind of makes it a little bit seem like it has a little bit more form. I'm going to take some black with my brown, and I'm going to add a little bit darker underneath my popsicle. So kind of shape, like draw it in, and then do the same thing with your damp brush and blend out the dark value. I do a little bit on the edge too. We're going to take a darker green and do the same thing with the rind. We're going to somewhat outline it, and then we're going to take our damp brush and blend that out as well. I'm going to kind of shape my the magenta on my watermelon a little bit by doing the exact same thing, going over with a little darker value and blending it out. We're going to put in our seeds. So we're going to take our black, just do like a little kind of eyeball shaped on some of them, and then I do a little, just half little line. Some a little bit bigger, some a little bit smaller, just wherever you feel like you need some seeds. And then I felt like my watermelon got a little bit weird at the bottom, so I'm going to kind of reshape it with my magenta. So my seeds are drying, but I'm going to take a little damp brush and kind of mess them up just a little bit so that it's a little bit shadowed looking. Those seeds kind of embed themselves into the watermelon, so some of them kind of look like they're underneath. So it kind of gives that look a little bit. Once you're done, you can put your splatters on. So you're going to take a pretty wet brush with some color on it. I used magenta and then I used yellow. So you're going to get your brush filled with paint and water, and you're just going to tap it over your paper. And that is it. Our painting is complete. So now you can sign your masterpiece. Cute little popsicle and watermelon. Thank you so much for painting along with me today. I hope you had a lot of fun painting your summer treats. If you'd like to follow along with what else I've been painting, you can follow me on social media. And if there's something you'd like to see in the future, just let me know. Have a good day.